The courtroom hummed with an energy the human had never experienced, a mix of authority, tradition, and alien power that pressed down on him from every side. Towering figures in elaborate robes floated silently on platforms, their eyes, sharp, calculating, and unblinking, fixed on him. Holographic symbols pulsed in the air, each representing a law older than any human civilization, and he felt the weight of the entire Khonsu Empire pressing down in that moment. He had entered this court as an ordinary man, seeking answers, or perhaps adventure, but now he stood accused, or rather, chosen, by a verdict he barely understood. The chief magistrate's voice rang out, resonant and final. "By order of the Khonsu court, this human male is legally bound to marry the alien granddaughters of the ruling family." Shock, disbelief, and an almost comical sense of absurdity washed over him. Behind him, the granddaughters appeared, elegant, poised, and unreadable, their gazes both curious and judging. In that instant, he realized he had been thrust into a world of unbreakable laws, intricate customs, and intergalactic politics, where survival, honor, and perhaps even love would demand far more from him than he had ever imagined. The human stepped into the Khonsu court, his eyes widening at the vast chamber filled with hovering platforms, shimmering light panels, and judges whose presence exuded authority. Every sound seemed amplified, every movement scrutinized. The air hummed with an energy unfamiliar to him, vibrating as if the very walls recognized his intrusion. His mind raced. How had he ended up here, in a world governed by laws older than any human history? Before he could gather his thoughts, a voice boomed, carrying both weight and finality. "By order of the Khonsu court, this human male is bound to marry the granddaughters of the ruling family." The proclamation left him stunned. Shock rippled across the audience of Khonsu officials and citizens. Whispers filled the chamber, and he glanced at the granddaughters for the first time, graceful, poised, eyes glinting with intelligence. Confusion, fear, and awe collided within him. The court had delivered its verdict, and his ordinary life had ended the moment he crossed this threshold. The human struggled to grasp the Khonsu legal system. Officials explained with patience and formality that marriage to the granddaughters was not optional, but a binding act necessary to maintain honor, lineage, and political stability. Their customs, they explained, were absolute. Ignoring a court decree could bring dishonor to entire clans or even spark conflict between factions. He attempted to argue, pointing out that he was human, ignorant of alien customs, and unprepared for such responsibility. His protests were met with polite but unyielding dismissal. Each sentence highlighted how utterly foreign this world was. Rituals, traditions, and expectations woven into law that left no room for excuses. As he processed the rules, he felt both overwhelmed and trapped. Every instinct screamed that compliance was necessary, yet the enormity of the responsibility weighed on him. In this culture, honor and duty outweighed personal choice, and he realized that he could no longer navigate the situation as a mere outsider. Survival, acceptance, and understanding would require complete adaptation. The human was led to a private chamber where the granddaughters awaited, each exuding grace and confidence. One's hair shimmered like molten silver, another's eyes glowed faintly, hinting at latent power, while the third carried an aura of calm authority. Their expressions were unreadable, mixing curiosity, subtle amusement, and scrutiny. For the first time he felt the weight of the verdict on a personal level. These were not distant laws or abstract obligations. They were real people, and he would have to navigate their expectations. Attempts at conversation were stilted, misunderstandings were immediate. A gesture that meant respect among humans caused raised eyebrows, while a joke fell flat. Yet amid awkwardness, subtle smiles and brief moments of connection hinted at potential understanding. He realized that the granddaughters were more than their titles. They were individuals with thoughts, preferences, and strength. What began as intimidation slowly shifted into fascination, leaving him torn between fear, curiosity, and an unacknowledged spark of interest. The human was introduced to the intricate rules of engagement, from greetings and posture to speech patterns and ceremonial protocols. Every misstep carried social consequences, yet the granddaughters displayed patience, demonstrating rituals with precision. He fumbled through instructions, knocking over small objects, mispronouncing phrases, and misunderstanding subtle cues. Each error elicited a raised eyebrow or quiet correction, and though he was embarrassed, he began to absorb patterns and anticipate reactions. Humor eased tension. Small mishaps led to shared laughter, a bridge between human awkwardness and alien etiquette. As the day progressed, he learned not only the external rituals, but the reasoning behind them. Respect, honor, and social cohesion were paramount in Khonsu culture. These lessons were both fascinating and exhausting, reshaping his perception of communication, behavior, and hierarchy. By evening, he felt a tentative sense of progress, recognizing that understanding the customs would be essential to surviving and, perhaps, thriving in this world. The journey to acceptance had begun. Life alongside the granddaughters revealed daily clashes between human habits and alien norms. Eating, gestures, even sleep routines created friction, resulting in comic misunderstandings. At the table, he picked up utensils incorrectly. During greetings, he misinterpreted subtle signs of respect. The granddaughters corrected him gently, sometimes with quiet amusement, sometimes with stern guidance. Frustration mingled with curiosity, but slowly, understanding grew. He noticed patterns and learned to anticipate reactions, developing a rhythm with them. Arguments turned into learning moments, a dance of patience and adaptation. Humor softened the process. Accidental breaches led to shared laughter, building rapport. These interactions revealed the depth and logic of their culture, teaching him respect for traditions he initially dismissed as strange. Through trial, error, and observation, he began to integrate into their world. Slowly, fear and confusion gave way to connection, and what started as obligation began to develop threads of genuine engagement and mutual understanding. Amid formal lessons and rituals, small moments of genuine connection emerged. They shared meals, exchanged ideas, and laughed over minor mistakes. He began to recognize subtle cues, the way a glance or gesture conveyed thought or emotion. The granddaughters showed glimpses of personality, curiosity, mischief, and pride in his small victories. In return, he offered understanding, attentiveness, and respect, forming bonds beyond obligation. These moments revealed that law alone could not define relationships. Trust and empathy were emerging naturally. Late evenings brought quiet conversations, allowing him to learn about their histories, hopes, and perspectives. He began to appreciate not only their strength, but their individuality, while they, in turn, acknowledged his efforts and adaptability. In these interactions, the rigid label of marriage by law softened, hinting at the potential for genuine companionship. Laughter, shared experiences, and mutual respect bridged cultural divides, creating a foundation that neither expectation nor tradition could dictate entirely. External pressures intensified. Elders and rival factions monitored his adaptation, weighing whether he would uphold obligations or falter. Small mistakes drew scrutiny, while his successes garnered quiet approval. The human faced tests of judgment, diplomacy, and courage, navigating unfamiliar rules under constant observation. Meanwhile, his relationships with the granddaughters deepened, though tensions lingered. Misunderstandings or hesitations could carry consequences far beyond personal embarrassment. Challenges arose that demanded quick thinking and cultural awareness. Each interaction, each decision, became both practice and proof of his worthiness. He realized that acceptance wasn't to merely social. It was survival in a world with high stakes and unforgiving standards. The once overwhelming verdict now shaped his actions, guiding growth and adaptation. Through trials and subtle victories, he demonstrated resilience and intelligence, earning respect and hinting at the possibility that law, culture, and personal choice could align in surprising ways. Weeks passed, and the human gradually embraced the Khonsu law, customs, and responsibilities. Awkwardness faded, replaced by a rhythm of cooperation, understanding, and shared experiences. Humor and small gestures strengthened bonds, and he recognized the granddaughters not just as law-bound partners, but as individuals with depth and personality. Mutual respect and empathy flourished, softening the rigidity of the court's decree. He reflected on how a sudden verdict had forced him into a world far beyond human experience, yet he had adapted and grown. What had begun as bewilderment evolved into appreciation, understanding, and perhaps the first hints of affection. As the court's weight lifted slightly through successful adaptation, he realized that survival had demanded more than obedience. It required openness, patience, and the courage to engage across cultures. The human who entered the Konsu court, naive and uncertain, now stood prepared to navigate challenges, relationships, and a destiny intertwined with law, honor, and unexpected connection. As the chamber fell silent and the verdict's weight settled fully upon him, the human felt a strange mix of relief, pride, and anticipation. What had begun as an absurd decree, marriage to the alien granddaughters of the Konsu, had transformed into a journey of understanding, respect, and connection. He had learned the intricate rituals, navigated cultural pitfalls, and earned the cautious trust of those once inscrutable faces. Laughter, small victories, and shared experiences had built bridges no law could mandate. Standing amidst the floating platforms and shimmering lights of the court, he realized that this was only the beginning. The path ahead would challenge him, testing loyalty, courage, and adaptability. But now he possessed the tools and the bonds to face whatever came next. The human had entered as an outsider, bewildered and unprepared, but he would continue as someone changed, someone capable of thriving in a world governed by law, honor, and unexpected connections. His story, shaped by decree, was now his own to write.